Midway through our professional journey, we find ourselves standing before an unexpected threshold, much like Carl Jung's evocative image of confronting the unconscious depths. One does not become enlightened, Jung famously said, by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. It's an unsettling idea, especially in a world that often encourages us to rush onward, seeking more achievements, higher salaries, and clearer status markers. Yet the call to integrate what we have kept hidden, the aspects of ourselves we've disowned in our pursuit of career success, may be precisely the wake-up moment we need. For many people, the midpoint of a career becomes an urgent confrontation. Am I following a path that truly resonates with who I am, or have I worn a mask of competence, security, and ambition so long that I've lost touch with my own inner voice? We grow up believing that once we land a stable position, secure a title, or reach a certain level of accomplishment, we've effectively made it. Our families, peers, and mentors often reinforce this mindset. Get on a successful track, and you'll be set. Then, to our surprise, somewhere between our late 30s and early 50s, we might wake in the morning with a creeping sense that something is amiss, something intangible yet profoundly important. Is it just burnout from long hours or the feeling of being underchallenged? Or is it a deeper existential concern about who we have become? These questions strike at the heart of Jung's perspective on the midlife and mid-career transition, what he would call the gateway to integrating the shadow. The shadow, in Jung's terms, contains all those aspects of ourselves we deem unworthy, unacceptable, or too threatening to acknowledge. In the professional realm, these can be fears of failure, creative dreams we never dared to explore, or impulses we've suppressed to fit our company culture. Rather than remain buried, these hidden parts eventually start to knock on the door of our psyche, demanding attention. The contrast between our outer professional persona, the face we show to the world, and our inner yearnings can't be ignored forever. It's like standing at the mouth of a vast cavern. Do we shine the light inward or turn away, pretending it doesn't exist? This script is about that cavern and about the light we can cast upon it. If you've ever felt restless, disillusioned, or unexpectedly anxious about where you are professionally, consider this a call to look more deeply. What if this confusion is not just a career crisis, but a powerful psychological opening, an invitation to transform your life's work into a richer, more authentic expression of who you really are? That's the provocative question behind Jung's model of shadow integration. Let's explore how so many of our assumptions about success, stability, and self-worth can unravel precisely when we think we're supposed to be all set. Rather than view mid-career dissatisfaction as a failure to pick the right path, we might see it as an emerging sign of growth. Is it possible, we might ask ourselves, that stepping into that hidden cave is exactly what I need to do to rediscover my purpose? From childhood onward, the dominant message many of us receive is to streamline our ambitions. We're taught to find a direction early. What do you want to be when you grow up? This question implies a singular identity, as though we each get one track in life that defines us. We choose majors, pursue specialized skills, and treat career building like assembling a ladder, each rung leading higher and higher. By early adulthood, the rungs seem clear. Get the degree, find the entry-level position, work your way up, prove your competence, and eventually you'll land in a comfortable, recognizable place. Society reinforces this linear progression. In many circles, a secure role by age 30 or 35 is considered a professional milestone. We measure our success by tangible achievements, like promotions, job titles, or impressive projects. People rarely say, "I wonder if you've explored your deeper potential lately." They ask for your LinkedIn profile, your achievements, how many steps you've climbed on the corporate ladder. The subtext is that by mid-career, you should be settled, especially if you have a mortgage, a family, or an established network. In Jung's framework, however, the first half of life is often devoted to developing what he called the persona, our outward-facing identity designed to help us navigate social and professional demands. The persona is not inherently deceptive. It's a necessary part of adapting to the world, yet it's also incomplete. Behind that carefully cultivated facade, the psyche's deeper layers remain uncharted. According to Jung, while the first half of life focuses on building ego strength and learning to function in society, the second half invites us to cultivate deeper self-knowledge, to integrate the shadow, and to move toward individuation, a state of psychological wholeness. We live in a time that prizes youth and early achievement. We celebrate 30 under 30 lists and want to see breakthroughs happen swiftly. It's easy to conclude that if you haven't made it by your mid-30s or mid-40s, you've missed your chance. Culturally, we undervalue the tremendous growth that can happen when we allow ourselves to question, pivot, and even dismantle parts of our professional identity. Misconceptions proliferate. We assume that uncertainty at mid-career means we chose the wrong path or that we're somehow behind our peers. From a Jungian perspective, however, this uncertainty might be the best thing that has ever happened to us. Far from being a sign of failure, it's an indicator that deeper psychological material is surfacing and calling for integration. The tension points the way forward. This is precisely where Jung's notion of the shadow becomes so relevant. The shadow is the repository for all the parts of ourselves we've repressed or neglected in order to maintain our ego's preferred image. Career success often requires certain sacrifices. Creativity might be replaced by conformity, boldness tempered by caution, passion stifled by the need for stability. Over years, these unacknowledged qualities live in the dark corners of our psyche, unobserved but ever present, influencing our attitudes and draining energy. When we hit a career crossroads, the shadow often emerges with startling force, manifesting as discontent, frustration, or a sense of stagnation. Modern psychological research echoes Jung's insights into midlife, or mid-career, transitions. Studies by Daniel Levinson and Gail Sheehy suggest that the midlife period is a natural season for reevaluating life's priorities. Neuroscience also offers clues. The adult brain retains neuroplasticity, meaning we can learn and adapt well beyond youth. Midlife isn't a point of shutting down. It can be a window of flourishing if we engage actively with our psychological development. We see real-life examples everywhere. The professional who, after 15 years in one field, suddenly yearns to pursue a long-buried artistic endeavor, or the manager who realizes that the leadership style imposed by corporate norms doesn't reflect their genuine values. These are signals of deeper transitions. Consider a metaphor to illustrate this process. Imagine your career path as a meticulously built house. During the first half of life, you diligently work on the facade and interior design so it meets external standards. Everything appears polished and orderly, but somewhere along the line, you hear noises from the basement. The basement represents your shadow, hidden rooms where neglected dreams, fears, or underdeveloped talents linger. You can ignore the noises for a while, but eventually, the rumblings become too loud to dismiss. Going downstairs to explore can feel terrifying. You're not sure what you'll find. You might discover old paintings you once created, or a rebellious streak you repressed to appear more professional. You might find resentments you never acknowledged or vulnerabilities that conflict with your strong persona. Yet by turning on the light and peering into the darkness, you begin a true transformation. What was once a haunted basement becomes a space filled with creative potential. The mid-career shadow confrontation can manifest in several ways. One is the feeling of being stuck or bored in a role that once excited you. Psychologically, this might mean you've outgrown the persona or environment that once served you well. Another manifestation is unexpected anger or resentment toward colleagues, signaling that you're projecting unaccepted parts of yourself onto them. Perhaps you secretly envy a risk-taker in your team because you've always stifled your own adventurous side. A third possibility is a strong yearning to do something radically different, to open a bakery, write a novel, or switch industries. The shadow could hold the talents and desires you once dismissed as impractical. When these urges surface, you're receiving a golden invitation to integrate them into your sense of self. In Jungian theory, two core concepts come into play here: individuation and active imagination. Individuation is the journey toward wholeness, where we seek to align conscious awareness with unconscious material, including the shadow. Active imagination is a technique Jung proposed for dialoguing with unconscious aspects, where you engage symbolically with inner figures or feelings. Translated into modern career terms, active imagination might look like journaling about your daydreams, your frustrations, or even having an internal conversation with the part of you that feels trapped or underutilized. By giving voice to these hidden aspects, you're less likely to see them explode as external crises, like abruptly quitting your job, sabotaging relationships, or sinking into depression. Instead, you can begin to consciously integrate them, transforming them from liabilities into strengths. From a neuroscience angle, acknowledging shadow elements can also shift your brain's patterns. There is research indicating that mindfulness and reflective practices modify neural pathways associated with self-regulation, meaning you can gradually rewire your responses to stress and dissatisfaction. Rather than reacting with fear or suppressing your inner urges, you can cultivate curiosity toward them. This shift in perspective changes how you view obstacles and opportunities in your career. Suddenly, what appeared as a dead end might become fertile ground for reinvention. Modern workplaces, with their emphasis on innovation and adaptability, increasingly recognize the value of personal growth. Companies that encourage sabbaticals, creative side projects, or cross-departmental collaboration may unwittingly support shadow integration by allowing employees to explore aspects of themselves outside the narrow confines of a job description. But the responsibility ultimately falls on the individual. If your workplace doesn't have a built-in structure for mid-career exploration, you can still undertake your own journey. Seek mentors or coaches who appreciate the psychological dimensions of career development, or find peer groups that share a commitment to deeper introspection. The transformation is not about discarding your earlier achievements or condemning your youthful ambitions. Rather, it's about evolving them. The midlife shift invites you to refine and expand your identity so that it holds more of you. Ironically, when you integrate the shadow, you might become more effective in your profession. Freed from the hidden tensions that sap energy, you may discover new creativity, empathy, or resilience. You might forge more genuine relationships, both inside and outside of work, because you're no longer hiding behind a mask. True success may come to mean something different, less about external validation, more about alignment with your authentic self. That is the hallmark of individuation in a professional context. But shadow integration can be messy. Like rummaging through a basement after years of neglect, you'll likely encounter dust and debris. You might uncover old regrets, childhood messages that you were never good enough, or bitter feelings toward a mentor who steered you in a direction you didn't truly want. It's painful to face these truths, yet acknowledging them can dissolve their power to undermine you. The challenge is to hold these discoveries with compassion rather than judgment. Jung emphasized that we all have a shadow, and it's not a sign of moral failure. It's a natural aspect of being human. As you move forward, You can harness the energy bound up in repressed talents, dreams, and honest feelings, redirecting it toward a more meaningful career path. Sometimes, the simplest step is to pause and reflect on your day-to-day emotional states. Where do you feel a surge of excitement? Or where do you feel inexplicably drained? Those can be clues to shadow elements clamoring for integration. You might keep a notebook or record short voice memos about moments of tension at work. If you felt envious of a colleague's accomplishments, ask yourself, what does that envy point to in me? Which part of my potential have I sidelined? That question alone can open doors. Mid-career transitions can also provoke tension in relationships, both personal and professional. Friends might question why you're restless if you have a stable job. Family may fear the financial risks of you exploring something new. Colleagues might worry if you show up differently or seem to question the status quo. In these scenarios, it's crucial to maintain dialogue, not in a way that seeks approval, but in a way that fosters understanding. Communication can help others see that your shift isn't just about leaving something behind. It's about becoming a fuller version of yourself. This process takes time. Jung's concept of individuation spans the entire second half of life. It's not a quick fix. Yet every step of turning inward and reconciling with hidden aspects can yield immediate benefits in the form of renewed energy or sudden bursts of insight. The greatest reward of this stage isn't simply a new job title or a bigger paycheck. It's the sense of being truly alive, engaged, and congruent with your deeper values. Your professional life becomes a canvas on which your evolving psyche can paint a more nuanced and authentic portrait. When we talk about the shadow, it's easy to think of it only in negative terms, our shame, our aggression, or our fears. But Jung viewed the shadow as morally neutral. It encompasses both dark impulses and unrealized potential. This is where persona development enters the conversation. The persona is the social mask we wear, especially in our careers. By mid-career, that persona can become so rigid that we forget it's a construct. We identify with it entirely. I am an accountant. I am a manager. I am a physician. Yet behind that label exists a tapestry of unexpressed qualities. The unconscious harbors these elements, talents we underuse, passions that might seem frivolous but could lead to innovation, yearnings we hid due to fear of failure or judgment. If left unexplored, they show up as disillusionment or restlessness. Integrating these parts means acknowledging that who we are is larger than any single role. That integration process also means confronting any guilt, shame, or resistance that arises. Perhaps a part of you insists it's too late to change. Another part warns you'll look foolish if you deviate from your established path. Jung taught that acknowledging these shadow voices is crucial. They hold emotional energy that keeps you locked into old patterns. By making them conscious, writing about them, talking about them in therapy, or exploring them through creative outlets, you allow them to transform. They no longer sabotage you from the sidelines. Instead, they inform you about your vulnerabilities, which can actually be sources of insight. This is the essence of shadow work, integrating, not eliminating. The shadow is an integral part of your psyche. By bringing it to light, you gain depth, flexibility, and authenticity. More than that, you reduce the likelihood of projecting these disowned parts onto others, blaming a boss or a system for constraints that reflect your own unintegrated desires and fears. When you make peace with your own complexity, you're freer to navigate professional landscapes with clarity and compassion. Experts in contemporary psychology like James Hollis and Murray Stein build on Jung's framework, emphasizing that midlife and career transitions represent a time of soul-searching. Hollis speaks of the middle passage as a developmental gateway, a time when the once guiding ideas of our lives no longer suffice. It's a recalibration of personal meaning, Scientific studies support the notion that this recalibration is not merely whimsical. Researchers in adult development have found that while external markers of success might peak in midlife, subjective well-being can plateau or even dip if our inner life isn't addressed. Additionally, organizational psychologists studying burnout note that chronic stress and dissatisfaction in mid-career professionals often stem from a misalignment between personal values and workplace demands. This aligns with Jung's emphasis on individuation. If we can't express our deeper selves, we experience psychological friction. That friction can lead to mental health challenges such as anxiety or depression. Yet, with appropriate support, counseling, introspection, or mentorship, this friction can fuel creative growth. We've also seen modern applications of Jung's ideas in coaching and leadership development. Some programs encourage professionals to explore archetypal patterns or engage in narrative coaching, where individuals reframe their career stories to include personal myths and symbolically rich language. Neuroscience research by scholars like Richard Davidson suggests that reflective practices, mindfulness, and emotional awareness create measurable changes in brain activity associated with resilience and flexibility. Thus, the inner journey Jung described resonates with cutting-edge science. The synergy of these perspectives reveals a powerful truth. A career crisis at midlife is less an obstacle than an opportunity for profound psychological maturation. Our persona has served us, but it can no longer carry the entirety of who we are. The call is to integrate the shadow, to welcome into consciousness what has been neglected so that we can live and work more wholeheartedly. This is not self-indulgence. It has practical implications for leadership, innovation, and collaboration. When people operate from a place of integrated wholeness, they bring unique insights and emotional intelligence to the table, benefiting not just themselves but their teams and organizations. One fascinating study from Harvard Business Review identified that senior leaders who exhibit high levels of self-awareness and authenticity often foster healthier organizational cultures. That authenticity stems in part from shadow work, recognizing one's vulnerabilities, biases, and suppressed qualities. In a business landscape craving innovation and genuine leadership, mid-career transformation can be the key that unlocks a new paradigm of purposeful work. Now, let's circle back to where we began, the idea that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That quote of Jung's contains both a warning and a promise. The warning is that no amount of external success will quiet the rumblings of your unacknowledged self. The promise is that confronting this darkness can lead not only to enlightenment in a spiritual or psychological sense, but also to renewed vitality in your professional life. Through this journey, you may come to realize that your dissatisfaction was an unconscious nudge toward alignment. The old belief that your career defines your entire identity begins to dissolve, replaced by a more expansive view that your career is an expression of your developing self, one facet in a broader life tapestry. You discover that the shadow, once feared, actually safeguards hidden treasures. What began as a crisis, whether it showed up as burnout, boredom, or a yearning for something new, transforms into an opening. It's as though you venture into that dark basement or cave, flashlight in hand, only to find that it's decorated with paintings you made as a child, or musical instruments you set aside years ago, or potential solutions to professional problems you never felt free enough to propose. You see your repressed anger, your hidden envy, even your secret delight in certain tasks. You see your regrets, your missed opportunities, and your vulnerability too. But you also see the possibility of weaving all these elements into a richer version of your professional identity. The hope is that you walk away from this transition with a sense of wholeness. Rather than tearing apart what you've built, You integrate your discoveries into your current skills, networks, and expertise. The path may look different than you initially imagined. Perhaps you shift roles, go back to school, or start a side venture. Or maybe you stay where you are but show up differently, more open, genuine, and creative. The details matter less than the internal shift. Suddenly, your mid-career pivot isn't a lament, but a triumph of becoming more yourself. That's the lasting impression we want to leave with. Midlife isn't the end of growth, but the fertile ground for a deeper, more authentic chapter. We began with a Jungian challenge to common perceptions. Instead of seeing career stability as the final rung on the ladder, we recognize it as a stepping stone to another level of psychological development. In that sense, the middle of your professional journey holds astonishing potential for renewal. By integrating the shadow, you don't just salvage a flagging sense of motivation. You expand your capacity to lead, to create, and to connect with others on a meaningful level. So if you sense that call, if there is a nagging feeling that your mid-career restlessness points to something more, be brave enough to follow it. Venture into that dimly lit space within. Observe your hidden longings, your neglected gifts, your complexes, and your fears. Listen to them. Let them speak. And with the clarity that comes from shedding light on your own darkness, reshape your professional path so it becomes an honest reflection of who you truly are. In doing so, you'll not only rejuvenate your career, you'll begin the deeply transformative work of living a more complete and aligned life.